Hello and welcome to Elementary STEM with Miss Crosman. Today we're going to be looking at chromatography and making some butterflies using the science of chromatography. Now, chromatography is breaking a substance down into its smaller parts by passing it through a solution.
Now that's a scientific way of saying we're going to have water travel through marker ink and watch it divide into all the colors that go into that marker.
Now for today's project, you're going to need a set of markers. I like to use Mr. Sketch just because some of the colors really break down a lot into a lot more colors than sometimes the Crayola or the Rose Art brands do. You don't want to use permanent markers for this because they will not break down. So any other type of marker. We're going to need some water and some little cups, a few coffee filters, a couple pipe cleaners, or you can use clothespins. The first thing I'm going to do is take a single coffee filter and I'm going to draw a circle where you see the circle right here. Now for today's project, you do not want to choose the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, because these colors are not made up of other colors. So as they pass through the water solution, they're not going to break down at all because they're only comprised of one color. So I'm going to set these ones aside. I'm going to use colors today that I know are made up of other colors. One of those is black. Another one I really like a lot is brown. If you've ever mixed paint together, you know that as you mix more and more colors together, you're likely to wind up with brown. So I know that there's a lot of different colors in this. And for my third color, I think I'm going to use green today and just see how that breaks down. So now that I have my three marker colors, I'm going to take a minute and draw a circle on each of my coffee filters. So again, I'm going to look for this line, this circle that's already kind of folded into this, and I am going to trace. Now, if you notice, I'm outside on my patio, and I cannot trace a good line, so I'm going to come back in just a second with a hard surface. Now, I've grabbed some cardboard from my recycling bin, so I am back in business. Now I'm going to color in my circle. When you're doing this, you do want to have something underneath because this is very thin paper and the color will go through on whatever surface you're coloring on. So make sure you have at least a piece of paper underneath. Now my second one, there's the slightest of breezes and it's blowing my materials around. Okay, so let's do the green one. And then finally, brown was my third color. My brown marker is looking a little dry. So I'll just go over it a little bit to add a little bit more ink on it. All right, I have my three done. Now the next thing I want to do is fold each of these into quarters. So first I'm going to fold it in half. I call this folding it into a taco. Let me put this up again. Okay, so we're going to fold it in half like a taco. And then we're going to fold it in half again like a piece of pizza. So you should have a piece of pizza when you're done. I'll do that to all three. So taco, pizza. Last one, taco, and pizza. All right, now I need to get 3 small cups, and I'm not going to fill them with water because here's the trick. When you put this in, you only want the very tip of it to touch the water. Okay, just the very tip of it. So if you put water up higher than your marker line, the water isn't going to slowly work its way up through the tissue paper. It's just going to saturate the whole thing. And when you do that, it's going to just dilute this whole thing and you're just going to have murky brown. It's not going to separate it into colors. So you want to be super careful that you're just putting a tiny, tiny amount of water into the bottom of the cup. Just a tablespoon or 2 will do. Okay, I wish you could see down into here, but I've only put about that much water in the bottom. I'm going to do that for all 3 cups. There we go. Small amount in each of 3 cups. Now before I put this in, I might even want to fold it one more time just a little bit to make sure that it fits in the cup. I do not want to mash this into the cup because again, I don't want the water to touch this line. I want the water to only touch this bottom part here. So I'm going to gently place that in. And I'm going to do the same for all 3 of mine. Gently put the bottom in and gently put the bottom in. And then we have to just be patient and let it do its own thing for about 5 minutes. And then we'll come back and check and see what they look like. Now as the water starts to reach the very top edge, I'm going to remove this from the water and I'm going to set it out to dry. Take a look at that. This was our black marker. Look at all the colors that go into a black marker. I'm going to set this down to dry, and then we can keep an eye on the other 2 for another minute or so. All right, it's been several minutes, so I'm going to remove the other 2 from the water. Even though the water hasn't gone all the way up to the edges, it's gone pretty far. This was the brown marker. Take a look at all the colors that came out of just a brown marker. And finally, we have our turquoise, or I guess it was more green, a dark green color. These are the colors that made up that green marker. So before it keeps dripping, I'm going to lay it down. And what I'm going to do to hold it in place while it's drying is I'm just going to put each Dixie cup on top of the center of it. Now I want to be very careful with these and let them dry completely because the tissue paper is very fragile, and if I start touching it and playing with it, it's very likely to rip while it's wet. It will get harder and stronger as it dries, so I'm going to leave it in the sun to dry for a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and do the rest of the project. Now our coffee filters have had several minutes to dry, so now we're going to make these into butterflies. And there's a couple ways we can do this. I mentioned earlier that we can use pipe cleaners for the body, or we can use clothespins for the body. Now I have taken my pipe cleaners and I've cut the pipe cleaner in half, and I would recommend this because the smaller size is easier to work with, but if you do not have a set of wire cutters, you don't want to cut them using just regular scissors. Just fold it over and double it up and use it that way. Now there are 2 ways to fold up the body of this. And by the way, mine is looking a little bit wrinkled because sometimes when I think I've pressed record on my video camera, I have not. So I did this entire section and demonstrated how to do this without turning on the camera. So mine already look a little wrinkled. Yours will look rather flat. You can accordion fold these, or you can kind of crunch them up, and I'll show you the 2 differences. So accordion fold means we fold one way, and then we fold the opposite way, back to the right, back to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, till you run out of your coffee filter. So that is one way you can make your butterfly wings. And then I'm going to hold these together with this, which can then you can decorate and make into the body of your butterfly. Another way that you can do this is to just kind of take your hand and go from the top and the bottom and just kind of crush it down into the middle like that. Try and make your wings even on each side. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner, and first I'm going to fold it into a V. Once I have it into a V, I'm going to slide that around the body, twist it to hold it in place, and then I can just kind of twist the antenna just a little bit like that. And there I have one of them done. And I'm going to do that to this one as well. Crush it in the middle, fold our pipe cleaner into a V, twist it around, and then angle the antennas a little, just like that. Then you have some great, beautiful butterflies that you've created using the science known as chromatography. Have fun with this one.